Hi guys, and welcome to session 4. I hope that you've had a chance to check out the first 3 sessions about questions. And if you haven't, they're still up there on YouTube. Feel free to check them out whenever you have a chance. Today we're going to get into a different topic. So we're going to begin speaking about common errors. So when I say common errors, I'm talking about mistakes that Spanish speakers generally make when they're speaking in English. Sometimes these mistakes are direct translations from Spanish to English, all right, which, as you probably know by now, normally don't work, all right, but some are just kind of confusing words that, are sometimes unclear. So we're going to get into some of them now, and as you can see up here, right, I have written Common Errors Part 1, all right, because there are quite a few of them. So we're going to divide the common errors into 2 different videos. So we'll start with some today, and in the next session we'll get into a few more. All right, so let's get into it and start speaking about them. So number 1, we are 3. Now this is a typical response that I hear a lot of people say, all right, when they want to express the number of people that are in a place at a time. All right, so for example, how many people are in class today? We are 3. All right, this doesn't work in English. The reason it doesn't work is because it's not an English structure. It's a direct translation from Spanish to English. All right, when we want to express this idea in English, we have to use a completely different structure. All right, so as you can see here, right, there are 3 of us. All right, so depending on whether you're part of the group or not, right, you could change this. You can change the structure a little bit. So if you are part of the group, there are 3 of us. If you're not part of the group, perhaps you could say there are 3 of them, or there are 3 people, or there are 3 students. Okay, so this ending here can change slightly depending on what you want to express. But there are is the structure that we use no matter what. So this is something you just have to memorize and begin using, because here the direct translation never works. Now let's get into one more, all right? And this is probably one of the most common mistakes that I hear people of all levels make, all right? And I'm talking about from low levels up to advanced levels. It's something that's very, very common. And I think one of the reasons that it's so common is because for you Spaniards out there, I think a lot of you have learned in your education when you're children in school that, say and tell are practically interchangeable. But that's not really true, and we'll get into the details of why right now. So essentially, when we're using the 2, all right, there's a major difference between the 2 of them. All right, so if you look at the structures we have here, tell, right, tell somebody something, and say something, right, you can see very clearly that the difference between the 2 is this somebody, right? So essentially, every time we want to include another person in the description or in the sentence, we have to use tell, right? For example, she told me she was hungry, right? Me. Right? She was speaking to me, and she told me that she was hungry. So since we want to include this information in the sentence, right, we don't have another option. We have to use tell, right? In this case, told in the past. Right? However, here we can say the same without including that person. She said she was hungry, right? Not to any specific person. Maybe she just said it out loud and everybody heard her. Okay? Or maybe we just don't want to include that information. But she said she was hungry, or she told me she was hungry. Right? These 2 sentences are exactly the same, except for this. All right? So tell with the pronoun, or say with none. Now, probably this is kind of confusing for some of you out there, because in school, like I said, you probably learned that these 2 words were interchangeable. And it's probably because you learned that this was correct. Right? Say to somebody. Right, now, this is very confusing for a lot of people, because depending on where you look, if you look online, if you look in grammar books, you'll see that this is grammatically correct. right? And it is grammatically correct, but it's something that we very, very rarely use. All right, let me give you an example of when you could possibly use this. So imagine that you are in a party, right? And you went to the party with your friend, and you're on one side of the room speaking to some people, and your friend's on the other side of the room speaking to another group of people, and you look over and you see that all of a sudden she starts crying. And so you get worried and you rush over there and you go to talk to her and you ask her, what did he say to you? All right, you saw she was speaking to some guy and she started crying. So you say, what did he say to you? Right? In this case, it's correct. But what are you really asking? Right? When you use this structure to say to someone, right, what you're asking is their exact words. Okay, what are the exact words that that person said to you? So in this case, it's correct because you want to know the exact words that made your friend upset and what caused her to cry. All right. However, in 95% of the interactions that we have with people, we don't really want to know the exact words. Okay. Imagine your coworker has a meeting with your boss, and he's in there for half an hour, and he comes out. Right. You might ask him, what did the boss tell you? Right? Or what did the boss say? Right? In these cases, what we're looking for is a summary. Right? What we want is, a general summary of what the boss said. Right? And most of the time, this is what we're looking for. We're not looking for specific, exact words. So this here is something that you may never even use in your entire life in English. All right? Perhaps in a couple isolated events, but it's something that normally we don't use. Now, a few more, all right? And now we're going to get into the differences between some pairs of words that are often confused, all right? So here we have other and another, all right? What's the difference between these two? Well, essentially, if we take this word and we break it down, another, right, we can kind of divide it into two sections, right? Other and an, right? And an easy way to think about this is that an is an article that we use for singular nouns, right? An apple, an orange, right? So here it's no different, right? So an other is used together because this we use with singular nouns, right? So imagine that we're speaking about a company, right? We're speaking about one company and another company, right? So another is singular, and we use it with singular nouns, right? Another company. Other is plural, and we use it with plural nouns. Other companies. All right, so just keep this in mind. And if you ever get confused, just think about the word itself, right? Here we have this singular article that forms part of the word, and here we don't. Now, good versus well. All right, two words that are very commonly confused as well. So, good. All right, as you can see here, it's an adjective. All right, and we have an example here. She's a good dancer. Right, good is an adjective that describes dancer. It's clear, right? Well, adverb. Right, she dances well. Well is an adverb that describes how she dances. All right, so we just have to think about this, how the word's used and what the word describes. Right, if it describes a noun, right, it's an adjective and it should be good. If it describes a verb, then it's an adverb and it should be well. All right, and occasionally, colloquially, they're a little bit interchangeable. Okay, so for example, if somebody asks, how's it going or how are you doing? I'm doing well, I'm doing good. In this type of typical response, okay, we can use them both interchangeably. All right, but most of the time, just think about it like this. Now, one more, and then we'll be finished for today. But fun versus funny. So these two words, I think, are commonly confused just because they're very similar, right? The way that they're written, the way that they're pronounced, fun and funny. They seem very similar, right? And I said at the beginning that generally translations from Spanish to English don't work, okay? And that's true with structures, right? Grammatical structures almost never work. But occasionally with vocabulary words, it's a helpful way to think about things. And here I'd say that that's true, right? Because each of these have a direct translation from Spanish to English, right? So fun, right, as you can see here, which is both an adjective and a noun, is divertido, okay? Divertido would be the adjective, and the noun would be diversión, right? Funny, adjective, okay? Gracioso. All right, so if you think about it like this, for a lot of you, it might become more clear, all right? But essentially, fun is like enjoyable, all right? If you want to describe something as fun, it would be like saying it's enjoyable. And funny is something that makes you laugh, right? Sometimes I hear people differentiate them saying that, fun is more for events or objects or games, and funny is more for people. But that's not necessarily true either, all right? Essentially, if it's entertaining, it's fun. If it makes you laugh, it's funny, all right? So a movie can be funny, right? A game can be fun, all right? If you enjoy yourself playing the game and you laugh, right, that game can be both fun and funny. At the same time, to describe people, if you have a friend that's always telling jokes, always making you laugh, that person can be funny. But maybe you have another friend that isn't really the joking type, but you really enjoy your time with them, right? That person can be fun. All right, so don't divide them into categories. Don't separate them that way, because really, they can describe almost anything, all right? The real difference is just the meaning. All right, so that's all for today. I hope that this helps. I hope it helps to clear up some mystery behind some of these commonly confused words or expressions. And in the next session, we're going to get into even more. All right, so thank you so much for watching the video. Stay healthy and happy at home, and I hope to see you in the next session as well. So take care and have a great one.